The chamber was massive beyond human comprehension. Marcus Webb had seen pictures, had studied the architectural specifications, but nothing prepared him for standing in the actual judgment circle of the Galactic Council. Above him, the ceiling disappeared into darkness, punctuated by holographic stars. Around him, rising in circular tiers, like an ancient amphitheater, sat representatives from 300 different worlds. They were watching him. All of them. Some had eyes. Some had sensory organs Marcus couldn't identify. Some were clouds of gas contained in environmental suits. Others were crystalline structures that pulsed with bioluminescent communication. The Veltorian Supreme Arbiter towered on the highest platform, 12 feet tall, with 6 arms and 3 eyes that glowed like molten gold. Marcus stood alone in the circle, hands clasped behind his back, wearing a simple black suit. He looked impossibly small, impossibly human, impossibly vulnerable. The Supreme Arbiter's voice echoed through the chamber, translated simultaneously into 300 languages. Ambassador Marcus Webb of Earth, you stand accused of 43 violations of the non-aggression accords. 7 mining colonies destroyed, 14 supply vessels reported missing, 2 diplomatic craft obliterated near the outer rim. How does humanity answer these charges? The crowd erupted in clicks, hisses, and sounds Marcus had no name for. The Kryn delegation, seated in a prime position to the Arbiter's right, looked particularly satisfied. Their scaled faces reflected the chamber's light, making them appear almost serpentine. Delegate Vosh, their lead representative, spread his clawed hands in a gesture Marcus recognized as triumph. Marcus waited. The noise grew louder. Accusations flew from multiple delegations. The word warmongers appeared on his translator. So did primitives and threat and extermination. He waited. Finally, the Supreme Arbiter raised 4 of his 6 arms. Silence fell like a guillotine blade. Ambassador Webb, you will answer the charges. Marcus looked up slowly, meeting those 3 golden eyes without flinching. May I ask a question first? The chamber stirred. Several delegates rose from their seats in outrage. The Supreme Arbiter's eyes narrowed. You stand accused of war crimes against multiple sovereign species. Questions or not, did anyone investigate who attacked first? Marcus interrupted. The silence that followed was different now, heavier, more dangerous. The Supreme Arbiter leaned forward. You dare interrupt this council? I dare ask for basic fairness, Marcus replied, his voice carrying through the vast space with unexpected strength. You show me evidence of destroyed colonies and missing ships, but you don't show what happened before the destruction. You don't show the attacks that came first. Vosh rose from his seat, his voice dripping with contempt. More human lies. We have sensor logs. We have witness testimony. We have debris fields with human weapon signatures. The evidence is absolute. Marcus reached into his jacket slowly, making sure every movement was visible to the hundreds of security systems tracking him. He pulled out a small data cube, no larger than a dice, and held it up. I also have evidence, he said, and I think you need to see it before you make any decisions about Earth's fate. Because what happens after you make that decision depends entirely on whether you've seen what I'm about to show you. The Supreme Arbiter gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the air above Marcus. Present your evidence, human, but know that fabricated data will add to your charges. Marcus inserted the cube into the display port. The air above him filled with images. The first showed a Kryn scout ship approaching a human. Civilian transport near the Kepler station. The transport was clearly marked with Earth's peaceful exploration sigil. The timestamp showed it was 14 months ago. The Kryn ship opened fire without warning. The human transport shields held for exactly 4 seconds before collapsing. The ship broke apart in silence, its crew bay breaching and venting atmosphere into the void. Marcus could see small figures tumbling into space, their bodies freezing instantly. This was the Freeman's hope, Marcus said quietly. 47 civilians. 22 were children traveling with their parents to the new colony on Arcturus Prime. The chamber was silent. The display changed. Another Kryn ship, another human vessel, another unprovoked attack. Then another, and another. Each one time-stamped, each one showing clear Kryn aggression. Each one showing human ships trying to flee before being destroyed. 15 attacks over 12 months, Marcus continued. We tried hailing you. We tried sending diplomatic protests. We tried working through official channels. Every single time our messages were blocked, ignored, or dismissed as human paranoia. Vosh slammed his clawed hand on his delegation's desk. Lies. Fabricated recordings. This council cannot trust primitive human technology too. The recordings came from your own ships, Marcus said, and now his voice carried an edge like cold steel. We didn't just record the attacks. We hacked your systems and pulled the footage from your own databases. The chamber erupted in chaos. Multiple species shouted at once. The Supreme Arbiter called for order, his voice booming like thunder. Security drones descended from the ceiling. Their weapon systems humming to life. Marcus stood perfectly still, waiting for the storm to pass. When silence finally returned, the Supreme Arbiter spoke slowly. You claim to have accessed secured Kryn military databases? Yes, that is impossible. Kryn encryption is among the most sophisticated in known space. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. We're a young species, Supreme Arbiter. Only 200 years in space, but we're very good at computers. We have to be. On Earth, we've been hacking each other's systems since before we left our planet. It's practically a cultural pastime. The display changed again. Now it showed a map of Kryn fleet movements over the past 3 years. Every ship, every deployment, every patrol route. The data was so detailed that several delegates gasped. We've been watching you, Marcus said. All of you. Since the first attack, we've been tracking every Kryn military vessel. We know where they are. We know where they're going. We know their weapons, loadouts, crew complements, and mission parameters. He turned slowly, making eye contact with different sections of the chamber. We've been very patient. We've been very polite. We've followed every diplomatic protocol, filed every proper complaint, and tried every peaceful solution. But patience has limits. Vosh's scaled face had gone pale. This is an act of war. Accessing military databases, conducting espionage, we were defending ourselves. Marcus cut him off. And we're still defending ourselves. The 43 incidents you mentioned? Those weren't attacks. Those were responses to Kryn aggression. Every single one. The Supreme Arbiter studied Marcus for a long moment. These are serious accusations, Ambassador. And serious capabilities you claim to possess. The Council will need time to verify. You don't have much time, Marcus said quietly. Because Earth's defense protocol Amber went active 72 hours ago. And every hour you delay makes the situation more complicated. What is Protocol Amber? The Arbiter demanded. Marcus met his gaze steadily. That depends on what you decide in this chamber. But I suggest you decide quickly. And I suggest you decide wisely. The holographic display behind him showed one final image. Earth blue and green and beautiful. Surrounded by a network of defensive platforms that hadn't been there in any previous galactic survey. The platforms were active. The weapons were armed. And humanity was done being polite. The council chamber remained in controlled chaos for 20 minutes after Marcus finished presenting his evidence. Delegates argued in clusters. The Kryn delegation had gone into emergency session, their sections sealed behind privacy shields. The Supreme Arbiter had called for a brief recess, while the Council's verification teams examined the data Marcus provided. Marcus stood in the judgment circle, unmoved and unmoving. He'd declined the offer to retire to a waiting chamber. He wanted everyone to see him standing there, calm and patient, while they scrambled to understand what humanity had done. When the session reconvened, the Supreme Arbiter's expression had changed. The certainty was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like concern. Ambassador Webb, the Arbiter, began carefully. Our technical teams have verified that the footage you presented is genuine. It came from Kryn systems, and it has not been altered. However, this raises more questions than it answers. The Council requires a full explanation of how Earth accessed secured military databases of a sovereign council member. I think someone else should explain that, Marcus said. With your permission, I'd like to call Commander Rita Okafor of Earth Fleet Command. The Arbiter nodded, and a holographic projection materialized beside Marcus. Commander Rita Okafor appeared, standing in what was clearly a military command center. Behind her, dozens of screens showed star maps, fleet positions, and data streams. She wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's naval forces. Her commander's insignia gleaming on her collar, she saluted the council with crisp military precision. Supreme Arbiter. Honored delegates. Thank you for allowing me to address this assembly, Commander Okafor, the Arbiter said. Please explain Earth's intelligence operations against the Kryn Empire. Rita's expression remained neutral, professional. With respect, Supreme Arbiter, our operations weren't against the Kryn Empire. They were in response to Kryn aggression against Earth. Let me show you the full pattern. The holographic display above the chamber floor expanded dramatically. A 3-year timeline appeared, marked with hundreds of incidents. Rita gestured, and specific events began to highlight in sequence. 3 years and 2 months ago, a Kryn scout ship entered the Tau Ceti system, which Earth had claimed and filed with the Council Registry. The ship performed detailed scans of our mining operations, our defensive satellites, and our patrol routes. We hailed them. They didn't respond. They left after 6 hours. The display showed the incident pulled from Earth's own sensor logs. We thought it was routine. A survey mission, maybe. We filed a report with the Council. No response. Rita's voice remained steady, but there was an undercurrent of something harder now. 2 weeks later, it happened again. Different system, different Kryn ship, same behavior. Detailed scans of human operations. No communication. No explanation. The timeline advanced, showing incident after incident. Over the next 8 months, Kryn vessels conducted 42 unauthorized scans of human positions. They were testing us. Response times. Defensive capabilities. Ship movements. Strategic positioning. They were running a systematic intelligence operation to map our weaknesses. Vosh stood abruptly. This is standard military prudence. Any species shares borders with potential rivals. We didn't share borders with you, Rita interrupted, her voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. The nearest Kryn territory was 20 light years from our closest colony. You had to go out of your way to find us. And then you started testing us like laboratory subjects. She advanced the timeline again. After 8 months of surveillance, the attacks began. Small at first. A mining drone destroyed here. A supply cache raided there. Each one calculated to test how we'd respond. Would we chase? Would we reinforce? Would we complain to the Council? You were studying us like we were an experiment. The display showed attack patterns, and now the chamber could see it clearly. Each Kryn attack was positioned to test a specific aspect of human defensive capability. Response time here. Weapon range there. Tactical decision-making in a third location. We figured it out after the third attack, Rita said, and now several delegates sat up straighter. We're not stupid. We know what a probe operation looks like. Earth has been running military intelligence for centuries. We invented half the tactics you were using against us. The Supreme Arbiter leaned forward. You knew you were being tested after 3 attacks. Yet the attacks continued for months. Why did you not respond more aggressively? Rita smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. Because we decided to fail your tests, deliberately. The chamber went silent. We let you think we were slower than we are. We pretended our sensors had shorter range. We deliberately used older weapons, keeping our newer ones in reserve. We wanted you to think you understood us. We wanted you to be confident in your assessment. She pulled up new footage, and several delegates recognized it immediately. It was one of the incidents the Kryn had presented as evidence of human aggression. But now they were seeing it from a different angle. A human destroyer appeared damaged, drifting, systems flickering. Kryn ships approached, scanning the wreckage. They recorded their findings and left. The data went into their intelligence reports. Human shields fail after 4 direct hits. Human ships have limited backup power. Human crews abandon ship quickly when life support fails. Then the footage continued past the point where the Kryn ships left. The human destroyer systems came back online. The damage disappeared. The crew, who had never actually abandoned ship, returned to their stations. The ship jumped to hyperspace, perfectly functional. "We were acting," Rita said simply. "Playing dead. Pretending to be weaker than we are. And you bought it completely." The implications crashed through the chamber like a physical wave. Multiple delegates began shouting questions. The Kryn section's privacy shields went up again. Rita waited for the Supreme Arbiter to restore order before continuing. "While you were testing us, we were testing you. Every Kryn ship that came close to our vessels, we infected with tracking software. Every time you accessed your databases to file reports about us, we used those access points to dig deeper into your systems. You were so focused on studying Earth that you never noticed Earth was studying you back. For 3 years, we've known every move the Kryn Empire makes, every fleet deployment, every strategic meeting, every military directive. We've been inside your command structure so deep that we get your orders at the same time your ship captains do." She paused, letting that sink in. "And it's not just the Kryn." The chamber erupted again. Rita spoke over the noise, her voice amplified by the Council's systems. "During routine diplomatic and trade exchanges, we've placed similar monitoring systems in the networks of 17 other species. We don't use them for aggression. We don't steal your secrets or sell your data. We just watch. We know where your ships are. We know what your capabilities are. We know how to defend ourselves if you ever decide to test us the way the Kryn did." The Supreme Arbiter's 3 eyes blazed with anger. "You have violated the sovereignty of multiple council members." "You violated ours first," Marcus said quietly, speaking for the first time since Rita appeared. "Every single species we've monitored has conducted unauthorized scans or incursions into human space. We didn't hack systems randomly. We only infiltrated those who came looking for our weaknesses. We gave you chances to stop. Every time a species scanned our territory, we filed complaints. Every time we were ignored, we took defensive measures. We're not the aggressors here. We're just better at defense than you expected." The display changed one final time, showing a current tactical map. Kryn fleet positions glowed in red. Human monitoring systems showed as blue dots. The blue dots were everywhere, tracking everything. "Earth Defense Protocol Amber has been active for 72 hours, Rita said. "Every Kryn military vessel is being monitored in real time. Every communication is intercepted. Every order is known to us before it's executed. If the Kryn Empire or anyone else wants to continue testing humanity, you should know that we're not test subjects. We're not victims. And we're definitely not easy prey." Marcus added quietly, "We came to the galaxy hoping for friends. We found some. But we also found predators who thought we'd be easy targets. We've spent 3 years proving you wrong. The question now is whether you'll accept that we deserve respect, or whether you need a more dramatic demonstration of what Earth is capable of." The chamber fell into an uneasy silence, broken only by frantic communications between delegations. Everyone could see it now. Humanity hadn't just defended itself. They'd run a counterintelligence operation that put them 10 steps ahead of everyone else. And if this was what they'd done while being polite, what would they do if they stopped being diplomatic? The Supreme Arbiter's voice cut through the chaos like thunder through storm clouds. Silence. "All delegations will cease communication and return attention to this council." It took several minutes for order to return. When it did, the atmosphere in the chamber had changed completely. Where before there had been anger and accusation toward humanity, now there was uncertainty, fear even. The Arbiter's 3 eyes focused on Marcus with an intensity that would have made most beings step backward. Marcus didn't move. "Ambassador Webb, Commander Okafor, your revelations have created a crisis of trust within this council. Multiple member species have confirmed unauthorized intrusions into their networks. This is an act of espionage on a scale unprecedented in council history." "With respect," Marcus replied calmly, Espionage implies we're seeking advantage or planning aggression. We're doing neither. We're simply making sure no one can hurt us without us knowing about it first. It's called deterrence. It's called violation of sovereignty. Vosh roared, his scales flashing with rage. The Kryn Empire will not tolerate this insult. Our third fleet is already en route to Earth with 500 warships. We will cleanse your species from the galaxy for this transgression. The chamber went deadly silent. 500 warships was enough firepower to glass a planet. Multiple delegations looked horrified. A few looked satisfied. But Marcus simply checked his watch. They were en route, he said quietly. Past tense. Vosh laughed, a harsh barking sound. Your primitive defenses cannot stand against the might of Commander Okafor, Marcus interrupted. Please show them the Third Fleet's current status. The holographic display changed. Space appeared above them, showing a vast formation of Kryn warships. 500 vessels in tight battle formation. Their hulls marked with the distinctive patterns of the Kryn Imperial Navy. The flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Vengeful Talon, led the formation. But something was wrong. The ships weren't moving. They hung in space like dead things, their running lights dim, their engines dark. No maneuvering thrusters fired. No course corrections were made. They simply drifted. What is this? Vosh demanded. What have you done? We disabled them, Rita said matter-of-factly. Every ship in your third fleet is currently not. Weapons systems offline. Navigation offline. Main engines offline. We've left life support at minimal levels to keep your crews alive, but everything else is shut down. The display zoomed in on the flagship. Through the viewports, Kryn crew members could be seen moving around, clearly alive, but just as clearly unable to control their ship. This is impossible, Vosh whispered. Our systems are isolated, air-gapped. There's no remote access to critical ship functions. There wasn't supposed to be, Rita agreed. But remember those 42 scans you conducted on our positions 3 years ago? Every time one of your ships got close enough to scan us, we scanned you back. And we planted code. Deep in your operating systems, hidden in routine maintenance protocols. Buried in firmware updates that your own technicians installed without knowing what they contained. She pulled up technical data that made several of the more technologically advanced species in the chamber gasp. For 3 years, every Kryn ship, built or refitted, has included our backdoors. You've been constructing your fleet with our off switches already installed. We just never activated them. Until now. A new voice suddenly broadcast through the chamber's speakers. This is Captain David Torres, of Earth Special Operations, broadcasting from the bridge of the Kryn flagship. Vengeful Talon. All Kryn personnel are unharmed and confined to secured areas for their own safety. The ships are ours now. The display showed Captain Torres standing on the bridge of the Vengeful Talon. He was human, wearing a black tactical suit, and behind him several more humans could be seen operating Kryn control stations. Kryn crew members sat on the floor, their weapons confiscated, looking utterly defeated. We boarded remotely using your own teleportation systems, Torres continued. Once we had control of the ship's computers, taking physical control was simple. Your security protocols are sophisticated, but they're not designed to handle attacks from inside the system itself. Vosh had gone pale, his scaled skin losing its vibrant color. This is an act of war. The Council must understand what Earth is capable of, Marcus said, his voice sharp enough to cut. We didn't destroy your fleet. We didn't kill your crews. We didn't even damage your ships. We simply proved that we could take them whenever we want. Rita pulled up another display. This one showing a galaxy-wide map dotted with thousands of ships belonging to dozens of different species. Small blue markers appeared on many of them. 17 species have similar insurance policies installed in their networks, she said. We've had the capability to disable significant portions of the Council's military strength for over 2 years. Ships that participated in joint exercises with Earth. Ships that docked at stations where human technicians worked. Ships that accepted technology exchanges or communications upgrades. All of them have our code embedded in their systems. The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. Multiple delegations began frantically accessing their military databases, trying to assess their own vulnerabilities. The Supreme Arbiter raised all 6 arms, calling for attention. "This is madness," he declared. "You're claiming you could cripple the Council's combined fleets?" "Not claiming," Marcus corrected. "We could do it right now if we wanted to. But we don't want to. That's the point you're missing. We've had this capability for years, and we've never used it except in direct self-defense. We didn't attack anyone. We didn't seize territory. We didn't make demands. We just made sure that if someone came for us, we'd have options." He turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. "Earth's history is violent. We spent 10,000 years fighting each other before we left our planet. We know war. We understand it in ways that species who achieve spaceflight peacefully can't comprehend. We know what total war looks like. We know what desperation drives people to do. And we learned through terrible cost. The best way to prevent war is to make sure everyone knows attacking you would be catastrophic for them." Rita nodded. "On Earth, we call it mutually assured destruction. If you attack us, you might hurt us, but we'll hurt you worse. Much worse. So nobody attacks, because nobody can win." The display showed the Kryn Third Fleet again, still drifting helplessly. "This is us being gentle," Marcus said. "This is us showing restraint. We could have destroyed these ships. We could have detonated their reactors, vented their atmosphere, or simply let them drift into a star. Instead, we disabled them and kept the crews safe. Because we don't want to kill anyone. We just want to live in peace." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But if peace isn't possible, if the Council decides that humanity is too dangerous to exist, then you need to understand what you're choosing. This demonstration isn't our full capability. This is just one option in our defensive playbook. We have weapons you haven't seen, systems you don't know about, strategies you can't predict. Because while you were testing us, cataloging our weaknesses, and planning how to control us, we were preparing for the day you decided to act on those plans." The chamber was silent except for the quiet hum of environmental systems. Every delegate was processing what they'd just learned. Humanity, the young species that had barely ventured into the galaxy 2 centuries ago, had infiltrated the Council's military networks and could potentially cripple its combined fleets. "So here's what happens next," Marcus continued. "We're going to release the Kryn Third Fleet. We're going to restore their systems and let them go home. We're going to remove our monitoring code from Council networks, at least the parts you know about. And we're going to continue being peaceful, diplomatic, and friendly." He met the Supreme Arbiter's eyes. "But if anyone, any species, any delegation in this chamber, decides to attack humanity again, we stop being polite. We stop playing nice. And we show you what a species that crawled out of Earth's predator-filled ecosystems can really do when we stop holding back." "Ah!" The threat hung in the air like a drawn blade. The Supreme Arbiter looked at Marcus for a long moment, then at the displays showing humanity's capabilities, then back at Marcus. "The Council will need time to deliberate," he said finally. "We will recess for 24 hours to consider Earth's position and demands." "Take your time," Marcus replied. "But remember, every hour you delay, more species in the galaxy are learning what happened here today. And they're all wondering the same thing. If humans can do this to the Kryn Empire, what could they do to us?" The session adjourned in stunned silence. The 24-hour recess felt like 24 years to everyone in the Galactic Council. Behind closed doors, delegations argued, calculated, and reconsidered everything they thought they knew about the young human species. The Kryn Empire, Jowed, emergency sessions. Their third fleet, now released and returned to Kryn space, had confirmed everything Earth claimed. The humiliation was complete. 500 warships, their pride and power, had been taken without a shot fired. Vosh and his delegation faced calls for resignation from their own government. Other species checked their own networks frantically. Some found traces of human code. Others didn't, but couldn't be certain it wasn't there, just hidden better. Trust in their own systems evaporated overnight, But the most heated debates happened in the middle ground, among species who had watched humanity's demonstration with mixed feelings. The Thelanary delegation, led by a thoughtful diplomat named Kira, convened a private meeting of moderate voices. 12 species attended, all struggling with the same question: was humanity a threat or a potential ally? When the council reconvened, the tension in the chamber was thick enough to cut. Marcus stood once again in the judgment circle, looking no different than he had the day before. Calm, patient, and utterly unmoved by the weight of 300 species' attention. The supreme arbiter began the session with formality that barely masked the turmoil beneath. This council has reviewed the evidence presented by Earth and the Kryn Empire. We have verified the facts. We have consulted our experts. And now we must make a decision that will shape the future of galactic civilization. He gestured toward the Kryn section. Delegate Vosh, your delegation has requested to speak. Vosh stood, and Marcus noted that the delegate looked older somehow, diminished. The Kryn Empire has been humiliated by these humans. Our honor demands response. Our pride requires retribution. We call upon this council to declare humanity an existential threat to galactic peace and authorize immediate military action to contain this danger. Murmurs of agreement came from several aggressive species. The Drachner delegation, known for their warrior culture, voiced strong support. So did the Hex Collective, a hive mind species that valued order above all else. But Kira of the Thelanary stood next. With respect to Delegate Vosh, the Kryn Empire was humiliated because the Kryn Empire attacked first. Earth did not seek conflict. Earth defended itself. And if we're being honest, Earth defended itself with remarkable restraint. She turned to address the full council. 500 Kryn warships were disabled, not destroyed. Not damaged, disabled. The crews were unharmed. The ships were returned. If Earth truly meant us harm, why would they show such mercy? Because they fear our combined response. Vosh shot back. They know they cannot stand against the full council. Can't we? Marcus asked quietly, speaking for the first time. The chamber fell silent. Delegate Vosh, you have no idea what Earth can do. You've seen one demonstration? One capability. Do you really want to find out what else we have prepared? The Supreme Arbiter raised a hand. Ambassador Webb. The Council is prepared to hear your final statement before we deliberate. You have 1 hour to make humanity's case. Marcus took a breath, gathering his thoughts. This was the moment everything depended on. Thank you, Supreme Arbiter. I'll try not to need the full hour. He began walking slowly around the judgment circle, his voice carrying through the vast chamber. I want to tell you about Earth's history. Not to bore you with irrelevant details, but because it explains why we are the way we are. 10,000 years ago, humans lived in small tribes, fighting each other for resources, territory, and survival. We were violent because violence was necessary. Then we built civilizations, and those civilizations went to war. Massive wars. Wars that killed millions. We developed weapons of terrible power, bombs that could destroy entire cities in seconds. He paused, letting that sink in. About 80 years before we achieved spaceflight, we had a war that killed over 70 million people. 70 million. We bombed each other's cities into rubble. We committed atrocities that still haunt our history. And at the end, we had weapons capable of destroying all life on Earth multiple times over. The chamber was silent, hanging on his words. We stood on the brink of extinction. Not from an outside threat, but from ourselves. And somehow, we stepped back. We realized that if we kept fighting with those weapons, we'd all die. So we learned. We adapted. We created systems to prevent total war while still protecting ourselves. Marcus stopped walking and faced the Supreme Arbiter directly. That's what you're seeing now? Earth's defensive network. Our surveillance capabilities. Our ability to infiltrate your systems. All of it comes from one simple principle. Prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. We smile and extend our hand in friendship, but we keep our other hand on our weapon. Always. Because history taught us that unprepared civilizations don't survive. He pulled up a display showing Earth's defensive network in detail. The chamber gasped. They'd seen hints before, but this was comprehensive. Quantum communication jammers capable of isolating entire sectors. EMP weapons that could blind whole fleets from light years away. AI systems that could hack any known technology. Kinetic strike platforms positioned throughout Council space, hidden in asteroids and debris fields. I've had the capability to cripple the Council for 2 years, Marcus said bluntly. 2 years. We could have isolated your communications, disabled your fleets, and seized control of strategic positions before most of you knew what was happening. But we didn't. We chose diplomacy. We chose trade. We chose friendship with those willing to offer it. Kira spoke up. Why? If you had such power, why not use it to secure advantages? Territory? Resources? Because we don't want to rule the galaxy, Marcus replied simply. We just want to live in it, safely, peacefully, with the assurance that nobody can hurt us without paying a price they're not willing to pay. He turned back to the full council. That's what this is really about. Not conquest. Not domination. Deterrence. We're showing you that attacking Earth is a losing proposition. You might damage us. You might even defeat us eventually. But the cost would be catastrophic. Your fleets would be crippled. Your networks would be compromised. Your strategic positions would be lost. And for what? To punish a species that just wants to be left alone? The display changed, showing something new. Footage of human colonies, trade stations, cultural exchanges with friendly species. Children from a dozen different races playing together on a joint settlement. Human and alien scientists collaborating on research. Merchants haggling in mixed markets. This is what we actually want, Marcus said softly. This is the future we're hoping for, friends, partners, peaceful coexistence. We've made genuine connections with several species here. The Urin, the Shao Collective. We've shared knowledge, helped build infrastructure, and defended each other's interests. But we can't have that future if every aggressive species sees us as easy prey. We can't have peace if we're constantly being tested, probed, and attacked. So we built our defenses. We prepared our responses. And now, we're giving you a choice. He met the eyes of delegates across the chamber, his voice taking on an edge of steel. You can accept that Earth is here to stay, that we're capable, that we deserve the same respect and sovereignty you give each other. We'll be your friends, your trading partners, your allies, if you need us. We'll share our technology, our culture, our perspective. We'll contribute to the Council and help build a more peaceful galaxy. Or, he paused, you can decide we're too dangerous. Too unpredictable. Too much of a threat. You can vote to act against us. And then you'll discover what a species that spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war can do when we stop being diplomatic. The silence was absolute. I'm not threatening you, Marcus clarified. I'm being honest. If you attack Earth, we'll defend ourselves with everything we have. And everything we have is more than you've seen so far. Much more. He looked at the Supreme Arbiter. The choice is yours. Peace or war. Partnership or conflict. But choose wisely, because there's no going back once you make this decision. The Supreme Arbiter's 3 eyes studied Marcus for a long moment. The Council will vote on 3 measures. First, whether to condemn the Kryn Empire for unprovoked attacks on humanity. Second, whether to accept Earth's demands for peaceful coexistence with mutual respect. Third, whether to recognize humanity's right to maintain defensive systems for self-protection. You have made your case, Ambassador Webb. Now we deliberate. As Marcus was escorted to a waiting chamber, he passed Kira in the corridor. She stopped him with a gentle touch. Your species terrifies me, Ambassador. I know, he replied quietly. But I'm glad you're terrifying, she continued. Because I think we need someone to shake up the old order. Too many species have become comfortable with bullying those they see as weak. Maybe it's time they learned what happens when they pick the wrong target. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. Let's hope enough of the Council agrees with you. The 24-hour deliberation period was supposed to be quiet, diplomatic. a time for calm reflection and measured debate. Instead, turned into the most chaotic period in council history. Marcus sat in the human delegation's secure quarters, monitoring the situation through Earth's intelligence networks. He could see everything. The Kryn were frantically communicating with their homeworld. The Drachner were building a war coalition. The Thelanari were organizing the moderate voices, and dozens of species were stuck in the middle, genuinely unsure which way to vote. Then, 18 hours into the deliberation, Earth's monitoring systems detected something alarming. Commander Okaffer's image appeared on Marcus's secure display, her expression grim. We have a problem. The Kryn are moving their reserve fleets. 600 ships from hidden staging areas, heading for Sol System. They're going to try to hit Earth directly while the Council is distracted. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. Are they seriously that desperate? Apparently, they think if they can destroy Earth before the vote, the Council will have no choice but to support them. Dead species can't defend themselves. Rita's jaw set. Should we activate full countermeasures? Not yet, Marcus said, thinking quickly. Let them commit. Let them reveal their reserve forces. Then we stop them, and we do it in a way the entire Council can see. 4 hours later, the Kryn Reserve Fleet reached the edge of Sol System. 600 warships, their weapons primed, their crews ready for glory and redemption. They prepared to jump to Earth's orbital space, their navigation systems activated. Jump coordinates were set, and then everything went wrong. Instead of appearing near Earth, the Kryn fleet materialized in an empty region of space 17 light-years away. They were nowhere near any inhabited system, nowhere near any strategic position. They were simply floating in the void, their navigation systems displaying coordinates that made no sense. On the lead ship, the Kryn admiral screamed orders at his crew. What happened? Where are we? His navigation officer looked up from his console, his scaled face pale with shock. Sir, our systems show we're at the correct coordinates. But the coordinates themselves have changed. Someone altered our navigation database. Every reference point, every star position, every jump calculation. It's all wrong. Recalibrate. Use manual. We can't, sir. The changes are too deep. It would take weeks to rebuild the navigation system from scratch. Marcus's voice suddenly broadcast through the Kryn flagship speakers, and simultaneously through the speakers in the council chamber where delegates had gathered, alerted to the emergency. Admiral Krusk of the Kryn Imperial Navy. This is Ambassador Marcus Webb of Earth. In case you're wondering where you are, you're exactly where we wanted you to be. Far from anywhere you can hurt anyone, the council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Multiple displays showed the Kryn fleet stranded in empty space, who attempted a secret attack on Earth while claiming to respect the council's deliberation process. Marcus continued, his voice hard. You moved reserve fleets. You didn't report to council military oversight. You planned to destroy a planet full of civilians while pretending to engage in diplomatic process, and you thought we wouldn't know. He pulled up displays showing the full scope of Earth's intelligence operation. We knew about your reserve fleets before. You deployed them. We knew your attack vectors, your timing, your entire plan, and we let you execute it, just so everyone in this chamber could see what the Kryn Empire really is. Admiral Krusk's face appeared on the displays, transmitted from his flagship. This is an act of war. The Council will see that Earth defended itself without killing a single Kryn. Rita's voice cut in. She was broadcasting from Earth Fleet Command. Your ships are intact. Your crews are safe. Your weapons are functional. We just made sure you can't reach anyone who doesn't want to be reached. You'll stay in that empty sector until the Council decides what to do with you. The Supreme Arbiter rose in the Council chamber, his 3 eyes blazing. Delegate Vosh, did you authorize this attack? Vosh had gone completely white. The Empire has the right to defend you attacked during a Council-mandated peace deliberation. The Arbiter thundered. You moved unreported military assets in direct violation of Council military oversight protocols. You attempted to destroy a member species' homeworld while claiming to seek diplomatic resolution. The Kryn delegation was finished, and everyone knew it. Even their allies were backing away. unwilling to be associated with such blatant betrayal of council process. The Supreme Arbiter called for immediate order. This council will vote, now, on all 3 measures. The voting took 20 minutes. Each delegation considered their choice carefully, knowing the decision would reshape galactic politics for generations. The results appeared on the chamber's main display. First measure: condemn the Kryn Empire for unprovoked attacks on humanity. The vote was overwhelming. 247 in favor, 31 against, 22 abstentions. The Kryn Empire was officially condemned. Second measure: accept Earth's demands for peaceful coexistence with mutual respect. This was closer. 181 in favor, 73 against, 46 abstentions. But it passed. Earth's sovereignty was recognized. Third measure: recognize humanity's right to maintain defensive systems for self-protection. This was the closest. 168 in favor, 89 against, 43 abstentions. But it still passed. Earth had won. The chamber buzzed with reaction. Some species looked relieved. Others looked afraid. A few looked angry. But the decision was made. The Supreme Arbiter addressed Marcus directly. Ambassador Webb, the Council has voted in your favor. Earth is recognized as a sovereign power with full rights of self-defense. The Kryn Empire will pay reparations for their attacks and will face sanctions for their attempted strike during deliberations. And humanity will be invited to apply for full council membership. Marcus bowed respectfully. Thank you, Supreme Arbiter. Earth accepts the Council's decision. However, the Arbiter continued, there are conditions. You will remove your surveillance systems from Council networks. You will submit to regular inspections to ensure compliance. And you will share certain defensive technologies with the Council for mutual benefit. Marcus smiled slightly. We'll remove the monitoring systems we told you about. We'll accept inspections of the facilities we've disclosed. And we'll happily share defensive technology appropriate for peaceful purposes. On Earth, we have a saying, trust, but verify. I expect the Council will apply the same principle to us. The meaning was clear. Earth would comply with the letter of the agreement, but they'd keep their hidden capabilities as insurance. The Council understood. In the new reality, trust would be earned slowly on both sides. As the formal session ended, Marcus broadcast one final message to Earth and the entire galactic community. Today, Earth achieved something we weren't sure was possible. We came to the stars seeking friends, and we found them. But we also found those who saw us as easy targets, who thought our kindness meant weakness, who believed our restraint meant inability. To our friends, we say thank you for standing with us. To those who tested us, we say the testing is over. You know what we're capable of now? You know, we'll defend ourselves. But you also know we prefer peace. He paused, his expression serious. Let this be known across every world, every station, every ship in Council space. Humanity will always choose peace first. We'll trade, we'll share, we'll help, we'll build friendships. But if you force our hand, you'll discover why we're the species that climbed to the top of Earth's food chain and then looked up at the stars and thought we could go there too. We're polite. We're diplomatic. We're patient. But we're also prepared. Stay friendly, and you'll find no better allies. But cross us, and you'll learn what a species forged in 10,000 years of warfare can do when we stop being polite. Marcus left the council chamber to a mixture of respectful nods and nervous glances. The galaxy had changed today. Humanity was no longer the young, naive species to be tested and evaluated. They were a power to be reckoned with. As he walked through the corridor, Kira fell into step beside him. Your species terrifies me, Ambassador, she said quietly, but I'm glad you're terrifying. Marcus looked at her thoughtfully. You know what scares us? Ourselves. The things we're capable of when we stop holding back. That's why we're so careful with power, because we know exactly what it can do. Then the galaxy is fortunate that you learned that lesson before you found us, Kira replied. Many species never do. Later, on a secure channel to Earth, Rita contacted Marcus. The Kryn fleet is being escorted back to their territory. We've purged their navigation systems of our alterations. Mostly, Marcus raised an eyebrow. Mostly, Rita grinned. We kept a few back doors, just in case. You know, trust but verify. Of course we did, Marcus said, shaking his head with a slight smile. Stay polite, but keep your options open. Always, Rita agreed. Earth ships resumed their peaceful exploration and trade the next day. Human diplomats worked to strengthen relationships with friendly species. Human scientists collaborated on joint research. Human merchants traded goods across dozens of worlds, but in hidden facilities across human space. New defensive systems were being developed. New strategies were being refined. New capabilities were being tested. Because Earth had learned the most important lesson of galactic politics, peace is maintained through strength. Friendship is protected by capability, and the best way to avoid war is to make sure everyone knows you're ready for it. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. And that, Marcus reflected, was exactly how it should be.